Hello, this is Jerry. Let's examine how you can set up a responsive background image in CSS. Before we start, I would like to mention that links to references and source code are in the description below. Okay, so over here where my cursor is, on your right, you see the meta. It's set to name, it's set to viewport, and you got the content set to view width equals the device dash width with the initial scale of 1.0. This line is very important for the responsiveness of the site. I'll be using @media query. Without this, the @media query would not work. So, but there's many ways of making your site responsiveness depending on the how much content and how many pages your site has. So you can either use an @media queries or a framework like Bootstrap or something like that. So it depends on whatever makes it easier for you to cut down the workload when building your site, pretty much. Okay, so as you can see, the content width is set to device width, which is device width is the screen size of either your laptop, desktop, or any other mobile devices, and this is saying that it will adjust the width, will adjust. This is like adjust whatever you set your @media queries, like screen size. It will the size will adjust against the device width, and then the initial scale is not important. It's not part of the responsiveness. It's more like zooming, for like your smartphone when you want to zoom in to see a certain area of your site, and then but I'll go more on this maybe in another video or so, more in depth on this line. Okay, so we have the link tag. I have all the properties, CSS properties in the canoe-bg.css file, which is kind of an option, but if you're having a large block of code, you may want to, store all your properties in a file or something like that. So, okay, so let's go over to the body. As you can see, the body has several properties, CSS properties. Then obviously we have being the first, we set the background dash image :URL with parenthesis with the file name with the parens around it, and then semicolon. And you want to make your image as pertain to the most popular screen size, like out there, like the 1920 by 1080, or I don't know, like the 1600 by 900 or something like that. Anything higher, the higher the better. That way you can adjust the many different screen size you may want to help your site, look better on the screen, because the larger your image, the better that you can adjust the size where you want it to. Like for example, let's say you look over to your left, you see the image right now. I set that the background size to cover, so the background cover stretches the entire screen size. No matter what the size is, it will stretch to that point, from the width all the way to the width of the screen and the height of the screen. So, and it's very important. That's why I said it's very important that it's big enough. This image is actually 1920. We can look back to the my code. Let's see. Um, let's go to the file. Let me pull up the file where the image is. So it's called Lonely Boat. Let's see if I right click, properties, details. Okay, it's 1920 by 1280. So my screen, so I got this image in Pixelbay, so I looked for something quite similar to my screen size. My screen size is 1920 by 1080p, so it's kind of like full HD. So it was pretty close, but you know the height's a little longer, but it's close. At least have your width of your screen matches the image size. So and have a significant amount of size for the height, like maybe at least 768 pixels at least or so. But you want to aim for the width, you know, the exact width as possible. Yeah. So okay. So so you see that the background. Oh yeah. One thing to note that the .png, I set that to .png, which is very common for especially for websites uh, to have. It's not like in a JPEG where JPEG is made mainly for like still images and photos, but I would suggest this use PNG since it's because it's a lossless compression file where you cannot lose any quality of your image, no matter the size of your image. Like if you want to keep, let's say, because when you're developing a site or your image, you want to maybe you want to keep editing your image on Photoshop. I don't know. It may not be like you see here on the left, like you get it from Pixelbay or any free, maybe copyright free site that you get hosting site that you get it from. But maybe you're a graphic designer that you created your own tire background, and maybe year after year or so you adjust your background to how you want it to be and stuff like that. So that's why that PNG makes it available in terms of the amount of colors you can have, the colored bit depth up to maybe 32-bit depth or so, and so forth, and all the details. And maybe I will do another video specifically on maybe file size or something, or maybe I'll see in the future. But in this case, we're just setting up how to set up your background image responsively, so it can look nice on your web page. So as you can see, the background repeat is set to no repeat. Yeah, this is not required, but if you were to, I just put this here just to, in case I want to change something. But like see, when you uncheck this, see, I set it's covered. I already explained cover. So because it stretches, it makes sure your background image stretches the entire length of your page. So yeah, so there's no need for a no repeat unless you specifically put a actual size, like maybe 100% or certain pixel length, something like that. Yeah, and no, and then I set the background position to center, background attachment I set it to fix, meaning that it's not going to scroll. That it's not going to scroll along with the page. It will be just not. It will just stay where it's at. You know, whatever the content is, it's going to stay where it's at. Where in every other content will maybe scroll along with the page or so. And then I centered the position because so that it's really centered. So you can adjust, you can crop it or adjust the size of your image in where you want your you can how you want what you want to see, if you want part of this, if you want to keep, like for me, I want to keep looking at this boat to a point where I don't want to crop it like too much. Usually the minimum size, maybe the smallest size is probably like 320 or something like that. 315, 320, yeah, about 320 something. um, so I want to make sure I still have the, you see on your left, the boat, so I can see. So it just depends on what you want your user or the user to see on your web page. So to make your, to based on your what you like them to see. And yeah, and then and then make sure I set the height. I set the height to 100% because they're in the mobile device. Sometimes there may be an issue. It's not important for the background itself, but for the content wise, you're going to put content on top of it. You may need to set that to 100%, the body to set to 100%, because you see how, like over here on your left, on your right, you see a 0. You see where my mouse cursor is 0, and then I check it, and it's 100. It's exactly the 854 in height. Yeah, so that's where I make sure that the content is laid out where it should be. Especially for smartphones, it may have some issues, like especially I don't know, I noticed that in Chrome I have some issues in that, or maybe it's just the cache or something, but I had an issue, of my certain content on the background not being laid out correctly, or something like that, or something, maybe because I've used the maybe position, like the position property with the value absolute a lot, and maybe it's kind of like, yeah, something like that. But just to be safe, you make sure you probably set the height to 100%. The width, it's an option. It's no longer, you don't need it, but you can still set it if you like. This is for if you want to spread your content, um, you want to spread your, whatever's on top of your background to be full width, something like that. So you can stretch it. You're not narrowing your content to the center or something like that. It's an option. But your margin, you want to set that so that to 0, so that there's no margins. You see my cursor somewhere around here on the top right on the side of your screen or your website. There's no like margins set so that your entire image is laid out all the way, so to the browser's viewport, something like that. Yeah. Let's see the full background image. Let's close this. See, this is how it looks on my laptop. So let's just like F11 full screen. And go back. Yeah, so you can see it. As you can see, adjust itself. So note, so note that like I said before, you can adjust your image, the image size, like on a Photoshop, something like that. So what I did, I went back to Photoshop and adjust the screen size of the original image. See, you can see that it has a max. I use a media query screen with a max width, where my cursor is, of 804. So it will change to that size. I think I set it to I don't know, let me see, let's go back and see. See, let's go back. Yeah, so you can see Lonely Boat. So I set, there's a size here, properties and details, and yeah, I reduced it the same size, the same width size as the image. So yeah, if we go, let's look at the code, the VS Code, and see briefly. So you got HTML file here and the CSS file here. So, and also, and also set the HTML height to 100% as well as see the same as the body tag. Like I said, where it may have some like mobile issues and displaying certain content for in particular for smartphones. Okay. Thank you for watching. We have completed our lesson. You are welcome to subscribe, comment, and share. You may go to the comment section of the video or the discussion section in the area of my channel homepage for a request on any web programming lessons or projects you would like me to show you. Free to code anything.